Zenless Zone Zero was not joking when they wanted us to call it ZZZ, an absolute snooze fest. I am so sleepy and tired. All jokes aside, Zenless Zone Zero, a new game that is made by famous anime gacha game developer Hoyoverse. Zenless Zone Zero recently has been getting a lot of backlash since the release of the game. With the game being out for well over 24 hours, I've come to give you my honest feedback on the game. Going into it, I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect to like it so much because I did get accustomed to the feeling of Wuthering Waves and what they had to offer. Now, I think what really separates Zenless Zone Zero and Wuthering Waves, besides the obvious fact that one of them is an open world and one is not, is more of a challenge feel with Wuthering Waves, which was the hardcore action-packed combat we were initially looking for apart from Genshin Impact. Now, with that said, Zenless Zone Zero to me personally is fun. I think the game is fine, to be honest. The problem I think lies with the fact that the game feels very casual as opposed to hardcore. When playing Zenless Zone Zero, I feel the combat is smooth and the game feels great, to be honest. I like the spin they have on the combat, but with the way the game is portrayed, it feels like a really arcadey game that gives off a real casual feel, which, like I said, in my opinion is completely fine. For me, it feels like a breath of fresh air compared to other gacha games. As I mentioned before, the problem lies with Wuthering Waves being out. Everyone finally got their chance to play an open world action-packed RPG game. Now, with that said, everyone got used to the hardcore aspects Wuthering Waves had to offer. A lot of us gamers are already used to being one shot against bosses and having timing being really punishable if we get hit. You guys know it, the natural Elden Ring type feel in an anime gacha, which even for me is something that I really look forward to and that I love. Speaking on that note, when you are playing Zenless Zone Zero, the combat feels nice, but there's a couple of things that set it back, at least in my opinion. To start off, it feels as if there's really no punishment for being weak. Maybe this could be an early game progression thing, but I have put at least 20 hours into this game, and I still feel like I'm way too strong for the AI that's currently being held against me. You can easily clear content with no problem at all. This is one of my main reasons why I say it appeals to casuals rather than hardcore gamers. Now, realistically, I really do enjoy the combat, but the only thing I really don't like is that I don't really have control over the chain attacks. To be honest, it kind of just prompts it for me, and I like being able to use my intros and outros or chain attacks at my demand. And that kind of all ties back into Wuthering Waves being released first and getting a taste of the combat. That is, of course, if you are like me and have not touched Punishing Gray Raven, and I have no facts about that game. So as for someone like me who's just getting into the action-packed combat intuitive type games, I'm going to be one of the people to say the game is really fun. It's really not a bad game and I am actually fully enjoying it. It feels like something I can play if I really want to relax from other hardcore gacha games like Wuthering Waves, where the combat is really important that if you get hit, you basically lose. It is a game that I'm going to be hopping on when I am not really in the mood to play a hardcore game like Wuthering Waves and don't really feel like getting one shot by bosses and having every move that I do and every action that I do be punishable. All in all, I fully enjoy the arcade feel from Zenless Zone Zero. The game feels really relaxing to play, nothing that will completely drain me of my energy. I will also give credit where credit is due. The parrying system, it feels super good. I love the clashing, the sounds, the combat all in all feels smooth and doesn't feel laggy or delayed, as what we should assume from another Hoyoverse game. Considering the fact that they have two successful games, Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact, with another action-packed game, Honkai Impact 3rd, we shouldn't expect anything less as far as the responsiveness of the gameplay feel. For me, I don't really find much interest in the story all too much. It's not really captivating. It doesn't grab me in like other Hoyoverse titles. Although I couldn't really get into Genshin Impact because I haven't played it too much. But however, I do love Honkai Star Rail's story, especially Penacony. But this is not the video to explain about that, but I will say the Penacony story from Honkai Star Rail is the stuff that I'm looking for, which I'm not really getting the response from Zenless Zone Zero. The arcade vibe, as I mentioned before, really throws it off, but I will say I do love the comic strips in this game. For me, it actually adds more of a reason to read the dialogue. I love the comic strips. It's a very unique and engaging touch they added to the game. Makes it feel more animated and kind of fits with the way they're trying to portray the game. Not just like I'm reading plain old text like in every other gacha game. And I will say the text on Zenless Zone Zero is definitely way more tolerable than the insufferable Genshin Impact text. And thank the gacha gods that they learned from their Genshin Impact gacha game that they did not add a Paimon-like character to Honkai Star Rail and in Zenless Zone Zero, or I would absolutely lose my mind because that talking tooth fairy absolutely gets on my nerves. And that's one of the main reasons why it's really hard to get in the Genshin Impact story. On top of that, I really hate how Paimon talks for Traveler. But on the other end, in Zenless Zone Zero, both of our main characters, Bell and Wise, both talk and have their own cinematic moments, which all in all, in my opinion, really contributes to the story in a really positive manner. I will also give it to Hoyoverse that I do love the idea of proxies. I like how they're doing some criminal illegal activities, sending people out on raids and stuff like that, but I don't really know much of the lore, so correct me if I'm I'm wrong. But the general idea is actually a really cool idea, and I thought it could be something special. So maybe as time goes on, maybe I will give this story a second chance. But as of right now, I'm just not really feeling anything. I mean, for me personally, and I am speaking for myself, for me to get really into a story, let's take Honkai Star Rail for example. Honkai Star Rail feels more like a game, especially in Penacony, where they really want you to grow an attachment to the characters. This is a really good way to actually engage your audience into a story. And the best thing that any writer can do is take that away from your audience, or build up character development so that way we can grow a personal liking towards characters. Or in this case, what I'm talking about is the agents in Zenless Zone Zero. Now, without spoiling anything, they did a really good job at doing this in Penacony, in Honkai Star Rail, of course. I am not really a good writer, but there's a bunch of different tactics that they can do, and I know they could do better because they have done it. I know people who follow Genshin Impact lore really enjoy it, and for me who enjoys the Honkai Star Rail lore, I really know Hoyoverse can do it. And maybe, as I said before, it's probably the early aspects of Zenless Zone Zero, but it is a post-apocalyptic world, so we should be gaining some loss. With that said, the cinematics overall feel really engaging, and I really enjoy watching them. Which I will say, to be fair, Hoyoverse is really good at engaging their audience when it comes to the cinematics portions of their game. And I am not talking about subtitles, I'm talking about cinematic scenes like cutscenes. But like I was saying, the cinematics feel very animated and enjoyable to watch. Hopefully as time goes on, maybe we will get more engaging lore. And to be fair, I will give it to Hoyoverse. It's not really fair to credit a game on their story when the game has just released. But so far, 20 hours in, I'm not really getting into it as much as I thought I would. Okay, so I actually really love the art style of the game. For me, it's really nice. The character design is very unique and looks a lot different from Hoyoverse's other titles. I will say the design of the characters do fit the way the game is portrayed, arcadey and kind of cartoony, which by the look that they're going for, I think the art style actually really matches up with that. I like that Hoyoverse went with an attempt to switch up all that we're used to. Even in game, I really love the way 6th Street looks and how we interact with the shops. I mean, even the NPCs have their own unique looks and they all look really good. I will have to say, top of the line NPC character design out of any Hoyoverse title, and anybody can argue with me on that. Also, tying the character design with the way they animate the characters in the cutscenes, it feels very great to watch, as I mentioned before. I do feel that in this direction, they really did improve their game. Art style is very important when it comes to these gacha games. I know, at least for me personally, it's a make or break situation. If I do not like the way the game looks, I simply just can't get into it. This opinion for me is a personal thing. I am not sure how other people are, but that is just how I am. The same thing for me applies when it comes to anime. Sometimes I cannot really get into the old art styles, but if the story is good enough, I will still watch it. But as I mentioned before, in this case scenario, the story doesn't really interest me all too much. A game example of where it didn't interest me because of the art style is Palworld. I really just couldn't get into it. I even tried my best to, but it just wasn't for me. I did not enjoy the way the game looked, and it really was hard for me to get into as a whole. With that being said, I really feel like Hoyoverse did a really good job with making the art style pop and having characters come to life, especially in the cinematic scenes. But on the other hand, it would make this all 10 times better if the story was just more engaging. But typically that is a real big struggle when it comes to these gacha games, is making the story really engaging. So it is what we got. I have been hearing the UI has been hard to navigate and that they should have kept it simpler and similar to other games Hoyoverse has released. However, I really like what they did with the UI personally. I like how everything is on the bottom and easy to access rather than being in a grid on a phone or activated with Paimon. This also might be a me thing again, but I think it's easy to look at the layout this way. I also wish they had in their other games this special feature where you can get your companion level up, and then with specific characters you can place them on your home screen. So if you have a favorite character, you can level them up with your companion level and then just have them on your home screen each time you activate the UI menu. I think that is one of the best new features, and I absolutely love that about this game. As far as the character selection menu and the team selection menu itself, I think it's the best of the best. I absolutely love how the characters change animations depending on what you have selected. Whether you are going to skills, W engine, and drive disc, you get what I'm saying. It just all looks different. And I really like how they are really trying to change up the way this game looks as opposed to their other games. Sometimes change is good, and I'm here for it. We went over the combat side of things. Now let's get into your everyday gacha life on this game. I'm going to be completely honest, as I have been throughout this entire video. The side quests for me do not feel as energy taxing as other gacha games. I think the side quests in this game are well done and don't feel like much of a hassle. Although I am not sure how I feel about interacting with certain missions and quests throughout specific times of day, and how you are forced to sleep when it's too late. Like, I am a gamer, I do not want to sleep. I am also too old to have a curfew. All jokes aside, I really love the arcade though. I think all those mini games is really a great feature in Zenless Zone Zero, and the fact you can earn rewards for grinding all these mini games. I actually think one of the biggest pluses to this game is the mini games. I also love the feature they included with the coffee to get extra energy so you can grind more for resource materials. And again, all the extra efforts they put into animating the food shop and the coffee shop when you do get those items. But by far my favorite feature about Zenless Zone Zero is the bang boos. They are the unique aspect to this game, and I love the way that their very own gacha system is in place. Also, it feels as if it does not feel as grind heavy to obtain credits to roll for bang boos. They are also 100% guaranteed when you get an S rank bang boo on the banner, which is a plus. Speaking of which, to top it all off, I love the gacha animation of Zenless Zone Zero, and the music is absolutely peak. Lastly, everyone is complaining about the TV system minigame when you are playing throughout the story to actually travel and progress throughout the story, or just in your everyday side quests or main quests, the TV moving system. I don't really know what to call it. However, I think this is fine because it is a way to actually implement the way that you're moving and progressing throughout a mission or a story mission, and they do need a way for you to progress because this is not an open world game. However, I can kind of see both sides of this. I personally think it's fine, but I can see how it can be annoying at times when people just want to do combat. But that is why we have an open world action RPG like Wuthering Waves, where you can just go out and fight stuff whenever you want. So we also got to take in consideration what Hoyo versus motive is for this. I assume it's content coverage for the lack of it not being an open world action RPG game. So that's my take. Those are my first impressions on Zenless Zone Zero. If you guys did enjoy the video, please subscribe so you can find your way back to my channel. And if you are new, I do have an amazing community Discord that you can join through the comment section down below. That's it for now. Peace.